that you care about more than anything in the world if something should happen to them, see a family member go through something awful, all of a sudden, man, it's much easier to find yourself on the other side of that conversation. Primus, Coheed and Cambria, both playing August 5th. That's at Blossom. I'm getting caller 15 in right now at 330-450-7625. The toll-free option for you is 800-243-7625. What matters more, looks or personality? Let's find out next.
Live from the Hall of Fame city, and just as bad as NFL officiating, the Stansberry Show.
Activities while he being here on Earth may have changed some of those patterns for us. I don't know. I did see this, a little bit of a dating survey, relationship survey. Again, most people in the survey said, I don't want to be ghosted, but I feel as if I'm justified when I have done it. 28% of people said it's acceptable to ghost somebody after just one date. Would be better ghosting. Like if we've been out 10 times and you just stop communicating, that's kind of like, ugh. If we went out once and you stop communicating, it's like, all right, I talked about myself too much, right? Like, and like we kind of move on from there. The further you're into the situation, the worse the ghosting becomes. I would just tell people, let's just stop. We keep trying to make this, it doesn't seem to be working. There's a misconnection here. And I think that would be the better way to go. If I'm worried if I ghost somebody, they're going to be reaching out to me. And the whole point is I don't want to be speaking to you, right? That's the whole point of ghosting the person. I think you're just bringing more communication your way. They say distance, debt, and politics are amongst the top deal breakers. The Pew Research Center discovered that singles nowadays are open-minded when it comes to dating people who have a different race, ethnicity, or religion. Most people would even consider a relationship with somebody who makes less money than them. But if you're carrying a lot more debt, I'm not into that. And if you're voting a certain way, you're not into that. And then how far apart you are to that person, long distance and that kind of thing. Well, it's interesting, right? Because religion, and people said, oh, I will date somebody a different religion than me. And it's because most people are either religious and don't practice all that much or not all that religious. It's a very popular thing these days. Look for that to turn around and go the opposite direction in the next 5 years. I know I'm right about it. But the point I was getting ready to make is that your religion can help you decide what your politics are. Like they can. If you don't believe me, there are 3 open conflicts around the world right now that are all proving me right. So like that can be a weird thing there. We talk about this a lot, where back in the day, husbands and wives, some of them didn't tell each other who they were with. That what's virtuous? Couldn't even sit next to one. Oh my God, one of those dirt footers couldn't even stand next to one. Where's my red hearts? Shower me with the red. Like that's what people are doing a lot of times, and that I don't understand that at all. This I don't believe either. They say couples who met online are less satisfied with their relationships overall. That to a new study that was published in Computers and Human Behavior. It found on average that married couples who met online are less satisfied with their relationships than married couples who met in person. Okay, so I don't know this to be true, but I will speculate. I once upon a time said I love Canton, I never want to leave here ever. Give me a 15-year deal and I'll sign it today, and that is true. I would still do it. But the one thing about this place, full in relationships are less satisfied overall. And people who have been married for 25 years, probably not the same thing. But if you're just meeting somebody now, the attention span is all the way down. You spend so much of your time being inundated with messages and attention from other people, whether it be your text messages, your inbox at this program, this or that, that you get all that from somebody else. And everybody's so worried about, what do I get? What do I get? What do I get? What do I get? And nobody's worried about what they send out. What you send out, if you send out the best version of you, you will get the better version of whatever's coming back, more often than not. But we don't focus on that. We focus about what am I going to get? What am I going to get? What am I going to get? Versus cleaning up our side of the street and what are we sending out? I think people in general are just less satisfied in relationships these days because, well, we're paying attention to everybody but our partners. We're pulled from work. We're pulled from this. We got this, and now I'm on the women's coalition, or whatever the hell it is, and you're just busy. And so the person you're with just feels like, when are we going to get to me? When is that going to happen? And I think people are just less satisfied overall. I'm not sure that meeting online means that you're going to be less happy. It is not how I want to do it. It isn't. It's not how I want to do it. I would rather that story. There we were, Motley Crue show, whatever it should be. I was walking through the grocery store, a little bit of this, then I said this, and then next thing you know, we ran into each other at the coffee shop that morning, and then next thing you know, we saw each other at the library later that day, and it was like, then next thing you know. I would rather that than sitting around the fire Christmas morning. How'd you meet Grandma? Well, I swiped right on her glamour shots photo.
Give Stansberry a piece of your mind. Use the TalkBack feature on the iHeartRadio app and let him know just how wrong he is. It's just wrong. The Stansberry Show.
History is when you just stop communicating with them versus giving them the, it's not you, it's me. Again, I feel like if I were younger, I'd be like, oh, it's a big deal, so I stopped talking to you. It's a big deal. Now it would feel like, dude, come on, just tell the other person what's going on. I mean, don't be a coward, right? Just stand up and say what it is that you're comfortable with, what you're not, what you want and what you don't want. Like maybe, I don't know, maybe spend some time getting to know what those things might be versus making it about the other person and just like not talking to them at all. They also let us know that a new survey from the Pew Research Center told us that distance, debt, and politics are amongst the top deal breakers. People were willing to date somebody of a different ethnicity, different religion, although those can lead to your politics. But the political thing was like, it's over. And you know what that is? It's not the fact that they think they're going to hate the person. They don't want to tell their friends that that the person that they're married to is voting for this person, or the person that they're dating is, voting for this person. It's about your friends. Oh my God, Tracy, a Trumper? Really? I mean, I thought we were besties. Tracy, what are we doing? A Trumper? And like, that's what's happening there, right? It happens on the other side too. You're gonna go one of them Bideners, right? Like it happens on both sides too. And like, it's again, I don't care what anybody thinks about me until people tell me what they think about me. And then it's the only thing I care about. Right? Like it's kind of one of those things. And of course you don't care what anybody thinks about you before they tell you. As soon as you hear it though, everybody melts down. And so like, yes, you do care. But I have no problem seeing those things as, deal breakers for people. I think they're silly, but I understand that they are going to be what the deal breakers are. Couples who met online are less satisfied with their relationships. That, according to a study that was published in Computers and Human Behavior. I don't know if I buy it. I think so many people are meeting these days online. If you reconnect, but by the way, if you reconnect with somebody you haven't talked to in 35 years via your Facebook page, that's you meeting online. You know who that person was when you were in 9th grade. You don't know who they are right now, right? And so isn't that you essentially meeting online? So if you reconnect with somebody from high school, my guess is people online. Like this just happened to me the other day. A woman who I went to high school with. And it's not like, hey, she's like trying to sniff around or whatever. I'm on multiple radio stations. And I'm on a Cleveland radio station. And I'm on it on the weekend too. And she heard it, so she sent me a message over the weekend. There's like, God, I haven't talked to that person in 25. I have no idea who that person is. I knew who she was in study hall. I have no idea who she is. So if we were to start dating or start going out or whatever the hell it should be, that would be like a brand new person to me. So I'm not sure that just because you met online, you're going to be less happy. That I don't buy. This, I think, might come down to the difference between men and women right here. They say emotional infidelity scares people more than physical cheating. They say when it comes to infidelity, you might assume that most people would be more upset if their partner strayed sexually than if they shared an emotional connection with somebody else. But that's not the case. Researchers shows that people are more concerned with emotional cheating than physical cheating. When asked what they classify as cheating, the respondents' top 3 responses did include intentionally fantasizing about another person in a romantic way, flirting with another person, still maintaining a dating app profile. 34% of men consider liking another person's photo on social media to be a form of cheating. This is one of those areas where women are allowed to like whatever they want on social media. If a guy likes a woman's photo, thirsty, thirst trap, thirsty, you got trapped, thirst, right? It's kind of one of those things. Women are allowed to do whatever the hell it is they want. Oh, well, just being nice. As if you don't know that guy who sees when you like that post is like, he wants it. He freaking wants it, right? Like that's, you know what you're doing there. You do know what you're doing. You just know that you're allowed to do it, and men are like the, well, online stalker, toxic masculinity creeps when they start liking photos, right? Like people are doing that now, going through people's likes and be like, the problematic nature of the liking of, you know, whoever. I mean, it happens. That's kind of like a crazy thing. I'm going to make this about men and women. I think men are going to be way more upset with you if you cheat physically than emotionally. I bet most men listening to me right now assume their wife has an emotional connection with somebody else. And they think, but that's why she'll never have sex with him. He's the gay best friend, even though he's straight. She comes home to the brawny dude, right? When she's looking to get D down, she comes home to me, right? And like that's how guys are going to view that. As, well, thank God she's got the work husband. I don't have to listen to it, right? Like that's what a lot of them are going to say. Where men, if we're going to be honest, the physical cheating really bothers you, doesn't it? Yeah. Because being a man and how you feel about a man, whether we want to admit it or not, is tied into penis performance, right? Of course it is. Absolutely it is. So much of your self-esteem is based on penis performance. For sure it is. And so when a woman goes out and seeks another partner, she's essentially saying to you, I needed a penis upgrade. Right? I think men would be more likely to be upset over the physical cheating, where to me, this feels very like a female thing of, I mean, did you tell her your secrets? I could have gotten away with just a drunken one night, but you told her, I mean, like, come on, right? Like that feels, now I'm making that about the stereotypes of men and women. And I know plenty of women who listen to me every day are not that stereotypical woman, and plenty of the guys who listen aren't the stereotypical guy. But if we're going by, you know, societal standards of what these things mean, I would think women would be more upset with the emotional cheating, and men are going to be way more upset about the physical cheating. It also found here, this study did, that couples who work out together are happier. Yes, because people who work out are happier. Like that's what that is. And also, you having the same hobbies can make for a better relationship. People who work out are happier. Nothing tastes as good as skinny feels. I know in the Lizzo era of the world, people don't want to admit that that's true. Like, right, she's a healthy person now. But like, people don't want to admit this is true. But it is true. So much self-esteem and what you don't like about what you see yourself in the mirror and all of that can be fixed at the gym. We know this is true. And if you do it, there's no shortcut to it. You had to do the work. So it's impossible not to be proud of you on the other end of that. So of course, the more happy you are with yourself, the more happy you are going to be with life, and then the more happy you will be with somebody else. Also, if you're in a relationship and you want to work out every day and the other person's a fat tub of lard who wants to eat chips, are you going to be happy with that person? You're going to be sitting there going, weird. Could not be any further. I mean, do we have any similarities here? Any of these? This is the one where I really was taken aback. Most daters, they say, rate looks and personality equally. They say in a world full of Instagram, swiping left or right based on the photos, you would just assume that we're superficial. But they have research here that says not so much. In a Forbes Health One poll survey, more than half of respondents said looks and personality are equally as important ahead of the first date. That's the part I found interesting. Older people value looks more. Well, of course. What fades? Looks. So the older you are, it's like, is this the end of the fading? Is this as far as we're going to go? Right? Is this as far as the slide goes? Not surprised there. 19% of respondents aged 78 and up named it as their top concern. What people look like? Well, of course. 78 and older is when you start getting into the, I can't even shut my jaw, man. I can't even shut the jaw, right? And so, of course, you're going to be concerned about looks. As we all laugh at 78-year-olds like they're not vying to run the country. Well done, man. Vote that guy no matter who. Vote this guy no matter what. Just keep doing it, man. Doing a bang-up job we are. So I have no problem believing that. I would have just thought that it would have broken down like this. That when we meet, looks matter. The further we get into the relationship, the less they do. Like, my better half is an angel of a person. She is a great person. But I didn't have any idea. I just saw her and I was like, oh my God, dude. Who the hell is that? And then I found out she's a good person. I was hoping she was a good person. But she could have been an axe murderer looking the way she looked, and she was still going to get sex that night.
Don't blame the station. We expected you to cancel him by now.
Well, my horoscope said that I shouldn't assume responsibility for anybody but myself.
The Stansberry Show on Rock 106.9.
Welcome back to the Stansberry Show, Rock 106.9. I'm already doing some work for tomorrow, looking ahead. And I don't have it all picked out yet, but there's new music from Bruce Dickinson we may be able to get for New Turd Tuesday there. Bruce, the lead singer of Iron Maiden there. There's new Judas Priest here, but I feel like the Serpent and the King, I think we already did that one for New Turd Tuesday. I'm pretty sure I did that. I'll have to check my graph. There's new Ministry, Just Stop Oil, the name of that. There's new Ministry. There's something here like Father Like Son is a brand new song from an artist called Rotting Christ. So there's that's out there we can get for New Turd Tuesday. We'll see what we get there. That tomorrow at 9 on the program. And again, I'll have more Primus and Coheed and Cambria tickets for you all week on the program. We'll pull out some Primus, some Coheed songs throughout the week, get those played. Might have to reach deep in that Coheed bag and remind you that they did a really interesting cover of Kiss's Love Gun. I may have to get that out on there for you this week. I'm sure the boss will love that one. That probably will not be a conversation in his office with the doors slammed. What the hell were you thinking? Those happen a lot, right? Those happen a lot. So, we may get to that later this week. We talked about a lot today. We had Scott on with us from waitingfornextyear.com. We talked about the NFL and whether or not the salary cap is real, whether or not the Cavaliers are contenders or not in the East. He seems to think that they really are. And also, we took a look at the guards there a little. I think a lot of people are just kind of accepting of, you're losing Tito, the manager. This team's not necessarily loaded down with vets and a lot of young guys. Now, their arms look great so far. We'll see on run production whether or not what happens there. So we talked to Scott at 8 o'clock about all of that. Also talked to you about putting leashes on your children. Shane Gillis hosting SNL, and everybody loved it except for people who write articles, and of course they didn't love it because, the I'm not so happy gets more people to pay attention to what you have written. I think it's an interesting examination when everybody in the country thinks it's great except for the people who literally write articles to make you fight amongst yourself. They didn't like it. I think it tells you everything you need to know about the last 6, 7, 8 years in this country. Because that's exactly how everything do. Without the Daily Beast, without Guardian, without Slate, without The Independent, without all of those places, we have so much more harmony in this country, and it's not even close. So we talked about Shane Gillis. We did that quite a bit. Also, let you know that there may be an end of storming the court coming to NCAA basketball. If you missed any of those conversations, I urge you to pick up the podcast shortly, that at WRQK.com. Aside from that, I'm done for the day. Not back live again until tomorrow. Stay safe out there, be good to one another, and do in fact meet me here tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. for Tuesday's program on Rock 106.9. Hopefully you have a great afternoon, and hopefully I run into you somewhere around town.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Showed the crowd. I mean, you couldn't get another person in that arena. Packed to the rafters to watch this young woman play basketball. A lot of people think she may be the first WNBA player to get everybody really into watching the sport. We'll see. I'm a little hesitant there, but I'm basing that off of previous history, right? She's still at Iowa. We'll see what happens. And now we're at a weird point. We're discussing this woman and whether or not she's great, right? Where it gets really muddy is people say, she goated, she's goated, he's a goat, goated. And what GOAT stands for, G-O-A-T, is greatest of all time. The problem is people will say, he's my GOAT. It's like, well, that's not what it is. Like, that's not what it is. And, like, you'll hear GOAT conversations like, she's a GOAT, he's kind of a GOAT. There's one GOAT, right? Like the truth, right? There's one of those. My truth, man. I mean, it's my truth. No, it's your fabricated ass story. There's one truth, damn it. There's one of those. And there's one GOAT. So now Jay Williams is under some issues here, as he is doubling down on him saying she's not a GOAT. Like, she isn't. He's not denying that she's a damn good player. He's, at least he believes, is adding some context to this young woman's career thus far. He'll tell you, as he has told you, that most other players we thrust these kinds of accolades on have decided to go and play basketball amongst some other greats. They go to UConn, or they go to some of these other big franchises in NCAA women's basketball. He says she decided to stay home and play at Iowa. He believes she ran from some other competition. Well, I could understand the viewpoint. I would push back and say, well, she still has to play other players. It's not like they just let her, she's not out there playing horse. You know what I mean? Like, she still has to play defense. She still has to, run fast breaks. She still has to distribute the ball. She's out there hooping, right? Absolutely. But what Jay has come back and said here is, she's not a GOAT. Because we reserve those phrases for people who have the hardware. He's right? He is right. It's rings or nothing. And you and I did that. The fans did that. Don't blame anybody else. We did that. And Jay's making the argument. Until she wins it, I ain't trying to hear about how she's the greatest. He's making this point. We have told plenty of other athletes, no, you're waiting your turn. And he's not necessarily wrong. Think Tom Brady. Do you know what Tom Brady had to do before people would stop talking about Joe Montana? It was like 5 chips. 6 maybe. All the while telling Tom Brady, well, he's a system quarterback, man. Joey Cool was a real slinger. It's like, well, first of all, no, he wasn't. And second, his offense had a name. It was called the West Coast offense. Quit pretending these dudes don't have systems. It's crazy. Now, my problem with what he's saying about Caitlyn is this. If you're trying to deny that she's great because she doesn't have the ring, I think that's nuts. If you want to not be able to use the ESPN FS1 obsessed word of GOAT, goated, she's goated, she's goated. If you don't want to be using that word for her until she gets the hardware, yeah. But if you're trying to tell me this woman isn't worth the eyeballs or the attention to watch, you're lying. If you're trying to tell me she's not impressive, she's not good, you're lying. And in a lot of other areas, if you were maybe denying an athlete this, would we maybe not say that Jay Williams is dog whistling? She's pretty good, Caitlyn. She's packing arenas. In television ratings, by the way, one of her games beat 2 NBA games. Now, the NBA, they kind of did it to themselves, didn't they? Yeah, decided to let the players kind of run the league a little, kind of let them do whatever they wanted, and you know what? It kind of turned the fans off. It did. Now the All-Star game is an absolute disaster. Current players are saying it's a disaster. Old heads are saying it's a disaster. Everybody thinks it's a disaster. And it's because you let LeBron decide everything in the damn league. He's one of the best players we've ever seen. He's the worst GM in the history of sports. Every time LeBron wants players, it doesn't work. Guys like, whoa, what do you want? This is what they gave me. It's like, no, that's what you begged for. And I've told you this before, LeBron's all-time great, but 15 years after that guy's no longer playing, you're going to hear about how he destroyed the NBA by bringing mobility to that league. You were judged way differently 10, 15 years after your career's over than you are in the moment. Way differently. Look at how Obama's presidency has looked back now. I told you that then. People look at it, dude, there are people who want him in jail for war crimes now. People who voted for him. I told you, I was like, wait a few years. Everything, the mentality will shift on everything. It's not to go down the Obama hole there. Trying to deny this woman is a damn good basketball player is insane. If you want to stop short of she's the GOAT because she doesn't have the hardware, well, that's just fair, because that's what we've done to every other athlete. I am sitting on those Avenged Sevenfold tickets. Let's get you in next on Rock 106.9.
To all the teachers who said he'd never amount to anything.
That is correct.
Lucky guess. The Stansberry Show on Rock 106.9.
Easy to follow along on socials at thestansberryshow.com. Actually, you don't need the .com there. You don't need that. Just the Stansberry Show will be fine. Getting a few things mixed up here together. You know, I saw an article at a outlet that I normally will scream about how much I hate, but since they agreed with me yesterday, I'm going to talk about how I like it. A place called Slate, and they're one of the most annoying outlets on the face of the internet. They're just awful. But a woman wrote a large article about how my husband was right. As this streaming stuff is getting out of control, DVDs are more important than ever. So I, of course, screen grabbed that. And I posted it last night. I was like, you'll have to excuse my victory lap here. Right? And I was pretty staunch in this one. And I think I'm going to be proven more and more right. And, you know, people will ask, dude, what makes you think you're so right about that? All right. Here's what makes me think I'm right about it. They went from selling you the product to selling you the product and not giving it to you. That's what made me think it. What do you mean? Well, you don't own it. By the way, you know what streaming services are, don't you? Socialism. So there's a little bit of that. I mean, that's what the theory is, right? Throw it in the middle, let everybody use it. Yeah, there you go. It's kind of how that works. Now, are they convenient? Well, the answer is yes. Okay? I, once upon a time, was a movie, fanatic. I had the Criterion collection of all my favorite movies. I was a physical collector. I had my movies, albums, CDs, everything. I wanted it all in my hands. I want to hold it. I'm old school like that. But last night, I found myself wanting to watch something. You know? And I don't own DVDs anymore. I mean, I have a couple, but not that many. Blu-rays, I guess, is what I should call them now. I have a couple, but not that many. And I wanted to watch The Crow last night. I read an article about the remake coming out. I think it's this year the Crow remake is coming out. We'll see if that's any good or not. So I read an article about that yesterday while I was at the office. And I went home and I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I should watch The Crow and see if that holds up, you know? And so I did. And I was able to do that via a streamer, as I no longer have a physical copy of the Crow movie. I still have a physical copy of the soundtrack. And it might be the best sound. People will call it the best soundtrack of all time. I think we're getting a little carried away there. But it might be the best soundtrack from any 4 years of when it was put out, somewhere right around there. That soundtrack, I mean, dude, that gave you banger after banger after banger. The Cure's best song ever, Burn, was on that. 9 Inch Nails' cover of Dead Souls was on that, and oh my God, was that good. There was just a ton of good. Stabbing Westward was on that. Oh my God, dude, one of the most underrated bands of all time, Stabbing Westward. So the soundtrack of that movie was great. So I was watching The Crow last night. I was like, let's see if this holds, right? So here's what it is. There are scenes in the movie that do not hold. The movie does. Like when he's up on the roof of the building